Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. This is part 4 of my series of top 100 books in my collection by price. Uh, this set of books range in price from around $1,600 to $1,800. So it's some pretty great books. What can I say? They're just really great books. Um, and I'm going to get into them right now. So the very first book is one that I really like. I think it's got a classic character in it. Um, Sadly, this character they tried to bring back into the modern era, but they kind of didn't do her justice. This is Detective Comics 233, first appearance of Batwoman. Um, Originally, when Batwoman was written, let's see if I can get without reflecting. I'm trying to make it so it doesn't reflect. Um, when they first wrote her, she was kind of like a female version of Batman in many ways. She was as good of a fighter, she was kind of solving the crimes before he could. It was pretty cool. She was pretty fun character, and she was meant to be designed to be a love interest for Batman. Sadly, social justice warriors got hold of her, and she became a lesbian in the modern era. But in the original, she was a love interest, and he actually almost married her. So it's like one of those characters from the Golden Age that I really liked. Or actually, she's Silver Age, barely, like 1956. So it's kind of like Atomic Age, maybe. Um, but I just think it's a really great cover, classic cover too, with the Batmobile and her on her bat bike. Everything's bat. Just a really great character. So this would go for about $1,600, $650 to be exact. So it's number, I think number 70 on my list. Okay, so next one is one that I think is really sadly undervalued. Considering how important this book is, it is really affordable for what it is. I have to keep on saying that because it's expensive, um, but it is underrated. This is Brave and the Bold number 28, and this is the first appearance of the Justice League. It's actually the first cover appearance for Martian Manhunter and for Aquaman. So kind of a key on a whole bunch of levels. This is a low grade copy. This is like a 1.8. I would say a 1.8. Maybe if on a good day 2.0. But I actually priced it as a 1.5. I tried to take the lowest price, lowest graded value that it could. I think it's more like a 1.8, but it does have some issues. Like it's got a big rip right here, but for the most part, it's actually quite nice. So this one goes for around 1,700 in this condition in a 1.5. It goes up pretty quickly after that, but for what it is, I mean, it's the first Justice League, first appearance of Starro. Extra little thing there too. It is a major book, and I'm always shocked how inexpensive this is, because there's so many books that are less important or less significant that go for much more. So I always thought this was a really underrated book. So the first appearance of the Justice League of America, and it is Brave and the Bold 28. Okay, next one on my list is one that is the most expensive book from the Bronze Age. This one had a record sale at a 9.8. Now, this is not a 9.8, therefore it's not the most expensive book in my collection, but a 9.8, I believe it sold for almost $500,000. So that's pretty crazy for a Bronze Age book. And it's Marvel Spotlight number 5. I'll actually take it out of the plastic so you can see it a bit better. And the reason it sold for such high numbers is it's this black cover. It's just a really obnoxious cover to try to get in a high grade. it's, it shows any flaws. And my copy's a 5.0. So because there was that record sale, all of these Ghost Rider books really kind of jumped in price. This is the first appearance of Ghost Rider. It's Marvel Spotlight #5. It's the big book from, as I said, the biggest book from the Bronze Age. You would think Hulk 181, first Wolverine, would be more expensive, but this is actually the one that topped out for the most expensive book from the Bronze Age. And this grade goes for around $1,700. So pretty expensive book considering, even though it's a mid-grade book from the Bronze Age. But it is a very cool book. It's the first appearance of the Ghost Rider, Johnny Blaze. And it's just actually, I really like the cover too. It's like you got him jumping out of the, almost like jumping through the cover. I think that's quite cool. Okay, so that's Spotlight. Next one on my list is one that most people won't be familiar with. But it is a pretty major book. It is Terry-Toons number 38. This is a fairly rare book, and it's also the first appearance of Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse is a character I really liked. This was actually on my top 10 list of books that I wanted for 2021. Because it is such a cool comic. I was a big fan of Mighty Mouse. I kind of like these little guys that have superpowers. This is in a mid-grade. This is like a 5, maybe. It's got some staining at the top. That's what kind of brought the grade down a bit. But it's a very pretty book if it wasn't for that staining. But this is just such a rare book, hard to find. And it's one of those books where, I'll always see like 2 or 3 bidders always competing for this book. And that's what really drives the price up. So a book like this in this grade generally sells for about $17 to $1,800, kind of in that range, $17 to $1,800. And I sort of priced it at being that $1,700 of that range. Okay, the next book is another one that collectors will always go after, and the price for this book, I've seen it actually kind of climb, which is interesting for a Golden Age book. But it does have a very classic character in it. This is Phantom Stranger #1. This is the first appearance of the Phantom Stranger, and it is a low grade again. Like we can't all be rich and afford 9/8 of everything. I don't even think there is a 9/8 of this book. So this is Phantom Stranger #1, first appearance of the Phantom Stranger from 1952, I believe. Yeah, 52. It's a great, Phantom Stranger had 6 books in the original series. And then they brought him back in the Silver Age. But it was a really interesting series. Kind of reminded me of Scooby-Doo a lot. I don't know why, but it really reminds me of Scooby-Doo, like where it's always some criminal and they're pretending to be like some paranormal activity, but then it turns out to be like just some criminal like making, scary sounds or like doing weird things. And he's like sort of a detective, paranormal detective that solves these crimes. But really interesting. I actually really enjoyed Phantom Stranger. So this is Phantom Stranger #1 from 1952, first appearance of the Phantom Stranger, and it goes for about, I've seen it go as much as 2,000 in this grade even. So that's kind of crazy, but I'm saying it's around 1,700 to 1750. Okay. Next one is one that I see as being one of the most important books of the Golden Age. And the reason I say it's one of the probably the most important book of the Golden Age is the effect that it had on the Golden Age. It ended the Golden Age. It was the book that basically was the straw that broke the camel's back and ended the golden age. I've spoken about this book many times. I actually did a whole video just about this one book because it's so significant. And it's Crime Suspense Stories number 22. This is the book that when they had the Senate hearings about the seduction of the innocent and about crime within the youth population, the moral decay of kids, and how comics were leading to juvenile delinquency. Well, it was this book that they blew up on these big posters and said, "Hey, do you think this is acceptable to be showing this to kids?" And William Gaines basically said, "Oh, it could have been worse," and that story hit the headlines, and within a few months, the comic companies had to do something. They came up with the Comic Code Authority to basically prevent the government from coming in and shutting the whole thing down and maybe ending comics altogether. So this book was pivotal in terms of ending ending comics as we know them from the golden age. So it led to the silver age of comics. So it's just a great cover. It's a decapitation cover, and it's got the axe. They actually did try to tone it down, so you can't tell that it's like a severed head. Well, we know that it is, but they don't show that. And the body, you can't see that it's missing its head. And the axe, it's black blood instead of blood color. So they tried to tone it down actually. But this was the book that really did end the golden age. So this is Crime Suspense Stories number 22. It goes for about $1,800. Okay, so we're getting down to the last few books. It goes for about, actually, in that grade, about 1,750 to 1,800. So all these ones, the last few are all 1,800. So they're all interchangeable. This one actually I got from a good friend of the channel. And this is Keston's old school comics. He actually sold this to me because he has like a crazy collection of Schomburg stuff. And this is one of my favorite Alex Schomburg covers. This is Wonder Comics number 15. And it's just a really great airbrushed cover by Alex Schomburg. And it's one of the Zila ones. So Alex Schomburg, what he would do is he would write his name backwards, and it would be Xela, to sort of, as a sort of an alias for himself. And but this one I just really love. It's a cover I really enjoy. It's a bondage cover. It's girl in the red dress. It's just got so many things going for it. It's also the first appearance of Tara, who's a character from Wonder Comics. And this is from 1947. It's in a high grade, but it's restored. Now, if it was unrestored, it would be a much more expensive book. We'd probably expect it to be, I'm thinking around anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000. It's one of those books where you can't really say because the price kind of it's really a seller's market on it. It's like kind of weird. The higher grade ones you can get pretty big numbers for. Because it is restored and it is a high grade, that really kills the price. It just obliterates the price. Generally, you get only a fraction of the actual value of the book. So that's how I evaluated the price. I figure in this grade, because it is restored and it has slight A1 restoration. So that's actually A1, just for those people who are not familiar with all these things. It says right there, slight A1. Well, A1 restoration is professional restoration. It's like high quality restoration. If it was even better, slightly better form of restoration, it would actually get a conserved grade. So it's one of those like top tier restoration. When it says slight and 1, that means that it's a very, very minimal amount of restoration. So even with it being a minimal amount of restoration, it is enough that it kills the grade. The big problem with this book is the restoration is, even though it's slight, it is trimming. That is the worst form of restoration because it's something that cannot be undone. Like color touch can be undone, trimming cannot be undone, and that really does hurt the price. So in a book like this, as I was saying, about $1,800, when if it wasn't restored, it could be anywhere up to maybe $10,000. So really does kill the price. Great book though. I'm not so like particular about restoration. I just want to have the cool book in my collection, and you can't really tell that it's restored, except for the fact that it's a purple label. And I just really enjoy it. I just really love this book. Great book to have. Wonder Comics number 15. One of, in my opinion, one of Alex Schomburg's masterpieces. I really love that cover. I just really great. I think it's a great cover. Okay, another restored book, and that would be worth a lot more if it wasn't restored, is this one. Action Comics number 252. This is the first appearance of Supergirl. And that's always debatable because there's other kind of prototypes. But this is the Supergirl that we all know. And it's actually, I actually heard a story about this character and this version of her. You'll notice something very special about Supergirl on this. This is Action Comics 252. But I'm going to give you a couple seconds, okay, to kind of see what's special about Supergirl. Probably you're not going to get it. You'll be like, whoa, what's so special about her? Well, she's wearing a blue skirt. And it's actually kind of funny because in the early appearances of Supergirl, she wore a blue skirt sometimes, a red skirt other times. And it was just like interchangeable. They didn't really figure out what her color costume would be. And a reader actually wrote in to Action Comics and said, hey, why is her skirt red in one panel and then blue in another panel? And, why? And I think that they didn't realize that they were making that mistake. And they said, oh, it's because her skirt is like two-sided, one red, one blue, and she interchanges it. That was their excuse. But after that point, they started making it always red. But this is the first time you see it with the blue. And yeah, it's kind of cool. A little extra story about that one. This is her first appearance. Kara L. Zor-El. And this one, because it's restored, it really does, again, reduce the value about 50%. It kind of drops the price. This book was much like it had sort of gone up a bit because the character had a fairly long running TV series, and DC books are finally getting a little bit of love, I think. And this book, in a way, for what it is, it's a major character first appearance, was kind of undervalued. So in a mid-grade, about $1,800 in restored. If it wasn't restored, probably you're looking at around $3,600 for this book. So a great book though, still, regardless. And the restoration on it is like, it's just like somebody put like a couple dots, like it's like really small. It's almost like one of those ones where you crack it open, remove the restoration, and it probably wouldn't even affect the grade. So the next book on my list is another restored book. I don't know, maybe it's a theme in this price range, I don't know, but it's another restored book. It could be a lot more expensive if it wasn't restored. This one is slight to moderate restoration. This is Amazing Spider-Man number 3, and this is a very hot book. Actually, when I bought it, I was so worried that it was just moving out of my price range because it was really soaring at one time. There was like a record sale of like almost $200,000 at that time. And I think it's gone up even since then. But this is a 1/5 restored, and it has moderate, like slight to moderate restoration, which is fairly, it's in between like extensive and slight. So, um, but this is a very major book. It's the first appearance of Doctor Octopus, Doctor Octavius, Doc Ock, um, and it's also his origin story. Um, and it's just he's a classic character, and with the popularity of the recent Spider-Man movie, a lot of these books have been kind of climbing in price, and they were climbing even before the movie. These are like blue chip Spider-Man keys. Dr. Octopus is one of Spider-Man's arch rivals. I mean, he's been in several of the movies. He is definitely a major villain for Spider-Man, and this book would sell in this grade for about $1,800. If it wasn't restored, it'd sell for about 2,000. So it's one of those cases where the restoration, because it's in such a low grade, doesn't really impact the value of the book as much. I've seen restored copies and blue label copies in these low grades kind of not really, almost be interchangeable in terms of the price, because it it's at that point where it's such a low grade that it really there it's like, why even bother at the at that point. It's because the restoration really doesn't impact the price as much, because often if you removed it, or remove the restoration from it, it'd probably still be a 1.5, and because it's such a low grade that even if you damage the book fairly extensively, probably wouldn't impact the grade too much. So in my case, this one, the restoration includes pieces added to back cover with tape, and that's it. That was the restoration, and I'll show you what that looks like, just so you see what the restoration is. See how this. Now, if this tape was removed, probably what would happen is this book would still get a 1.5. Wouldn't show as nicely, but basically that's the restoration. It's a fairly big piece. It's like an inch square, but that's the restoration. So that would still qualify it for a 1.5, like if that piece was removed. But I think it's better that it is restored in this case, because you get to see the full back cover. So that is the second last one on my list. Now the last one is one of my favorite covers, and this is a book. So this is number 62 on my list. Wow, we've got a long way to go. So this is number 61 on my list. Sorry. So 61 on my list. This book is a classic cover. Just like probably one of the most loved covers from the Archie series. This is a Bob Montana cover, and it's Archie number 50 from 1951. Nice golden age book. And it's a classic headlight cover, a sweater cover. There's a lot, and it's the one where she's on the couch. And it's just like something about it. There's a certain innocence and not so innocent about it. It's a little bit of that, in between. And I'll read you the caption. No, Archie, this isn't Veronica. You called the wrong number. But if you come over to my house, I'll gladly refund your nickel. It's just so, it's just a different time almost that's captured in this comic. That 50s kind of like, I don't know. It just really captures that whole, that time period. I think there's a certain charm to it that I think appeals to people, to collectors, and to myself, even to this day. And it's just a classic cover for Bob Montana. It's like probably his most beloved Archie cover. So this is Archie number 50 from 1951. And this is around $1,800 for this book. And that's number 61 on my list. So we're getting down to the almost halfway. And the next set of books are going to be even bigger. It just gets bigger and bigger as we get to the top of the list. So I hope you're enjoying this series. I recommend you check out the other parts because I show some really great books. If you have any comments, put them in the comments below. Do you have any of these books in your collection? And thanks again for watching. Bye for now.